Good afternoon, Mr. Čorej. You are appearing as a witness in this case, called by respondent. You have a statement in front of you. Can you please read it aloud?
Vyhlásenie svedka. Slávnostne
Witness statement. I solemnly swear an oath to saying the truth, nothing but the truth and the whole truth.
Direct examination.
Just very brief. Good afternoon, Mr. Čorej. Mr. Čorej, are you an employee of the Slovak state?
nie som zamestnanec.
No, I am not employee of the Slovak Republic.
And are you here today representing the Slovak state?
No.
Then it may be helpful if you could tell the tribunal why you are here today testifying.
I'm here as a witness because legal counsel on behalf of Slovak Republic had approached me in relation to the undergoing dispute between Slovakia and EuroGas or Belmont, Slovak Republic, where they asked me to several questions, whether I'd be willing to answer those questions, which I did, and based on that, my testimony as a witness was drafted, which is part of the file here, submitted.
And are you being reimbursed by the Slovak Republic for your lost time and expenses for your work in this arbitration?
I'm not sure how it works elsewhere, but there are some legal standards applicable in Slovakia which stipulate exactly how I get reimbursed for expenditures related to my witness testimony for individual witnesses.
And is it your understanding that the reimbursement the Slovak Republic is providing you for your lost time and expenses is consistent with the Slovak legislation on reimbursement of witnesses?
Áno.
Yes.
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Cross-examination by Mr. Garavi.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm counsel for Belmont, and I'm going to put some questions to you. I kindly invite you to look at your first statement, witness statement. Paragraph 41, you say payments from Rosman were always late. And that's in relation to the time when you were a shareholder and a contractor of Rosman in 2001. And then you go on. Even in the above paragraph at the end of 39, you say Rosman were always late. Then at paragraph 44, you say, in the middle of it, starting by Rima Morin, was getting into bigger and bigger financial problems. We did not have many money to pay for the works at the deposit we owed to our suppliers, and we were under a threat of bankruptcy. When you say here we were under the threat of bankruptcy, you mean Rima Morin, right? Not Rima Morin that was under.
Yes.
It seems that you become bankrupt quite easily, sir, because the amounts you're setting out are not significant amounts, are they?
The amounts were substantial for such company and for such a demanding mining works and mining project we opened.
At the period you describe, for example, in April, May, and June, let's take May 2001.
It had stayed at the figure 5,086,000. Slovak crowns.
That's in May 2001?
Presne citujem 5
Let me quote exactly, 5,060,812 Slovak crowns. It's 168,000 euros and some small change. That was the debt of the company. Rosmin to Rimamuran.
I mean, that's not a very significant amount, is it? To become bankrupt? I
Keď sa
mean,
vrátime do rokov
Going back to roughly 2000, it was at the time, for such companies in Slovakia in general, it was a substantial amount. 5 million crowns was, at that time, a big money. It was not a small amount. When one realizes that the entire project we were to implement had cost 71 million crowns.
Can you go to tab 18 of the first bundle, which is R0169. It's a letter from Rosman, dated July 25th, 2001, R0169. It's sent by Dr. Rozloznik to you, I believe. Was it sent to you at the time?
bol zaslaný
It was sent to a company Rimamuran.
Okay, but you reviewed it at the time, correct?
no rozhodne.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, do you agree with the conclusions that are set out here? It says that there's a table on the
Nie,
back.
nesúhlasím.
No, I disagree.
What items of it you disagree with?
So záverom
With the conclusion and with the amount. Mainly with the amount, because the figure here is definitely the one I mentioned earlier, which is 5,060,000 crowns. And it was further confirmed later, because when there was settlement had occurred of some problematic issues between the two companies, the company, I think it was EuroGas at that time, had acknowledged this amount and paid the due amount in this figure.
Of time, sir. I'm not going forward. To facilitate that, I propose that you keep that document open and you look at your response dated July 23rd, 2001. It is in the pochette R0126, should be the first document. And in that letter, you, in response to R0169, you say the line that you find for HV line should be removed, but it has been paid, so that, I guess that amount is neutralized. Then you have an issue only with the payment received in relation to your invoice of 6 million crowns that is on the table, right-hand table of page 29 of R0169. And my understanding, you say out of that 6 million amount, I didn't receive the 3,748,000 indicated in the letter of Rosman, but only 2,159,000. Is my understanding correct?
Toto si už presne
I don't remember this exactly, I have to admit, that because these things were mainly related to the economy of our company, which was the economy's department responsibility. I was in charge of technical implementation of the work and technical supervision over the implementation. So please do not take me precisely with regard to specific figures, and given the time that has lapsed since, I'm not able to recall exact figures.
stále
I insist, and we have always required payments due from Rosmin in the amount of 5,086,000 and change, which later was accepted and paid. So these tables I do not take as fully relevant, and even later on I cannot really respond to those tables anymore.
You know, I didn't invite you to submit a witness statement. Slovak Republic did. And in your witness statement, you indicate precise dates. April, May, June, July. And then you draw a conclusion, or at least an implied conclusion, that it was Rosmin that caused the financial difficulties that your company was undergoing at the time. I point out to a letter at the time that was sent to you and the response you provided under your signature. And the conclusion I draw from that is that you contest only the 6 million invoice in the table, and you said you didn't receive 3,748,000, but you received only 2,159,000, which makes it that you have a shortfall of only 3,900,000, which is not much, I suggest. And moreover, it relates, if you look at the table at R016, it's advanced payment invoices submitted by Ruma Moorin and yet not covered by actual work carried out. And then if you add to it the amounts also received for your previous invoices, 1,400,000, 1,000,000 for advanced payments, whereas work was not carried out, and the advance payment set out on the next table, which means of 2,073,000, that you are cash positive.
Nie je to vôbec pravda.
This is not true at all, because in reality, the situation was as I've already described it to you. Rosmin was not paying on regular basis, and as a result of that, we've becoming insolvent.
Your word, right? That's your word, that's your testimony. I point out to a document that Rosmin wrote at the time and a letter that you signed.
Mr. Garawi, just to be sure I'm not, I'm following. R0169, it said it's a letter from Rima Muran to Rosmin, but I guess it's a letter from Rosmin to Rima Muran, unless I don't understand
yes,
things correctly.
This is a letter from...
so it's wrong.
No, that you should have found in the... Okay, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
so
yes.
I was just sure to be following.
Yeah. Non, ça c'est juste.
169 is not...
Oh, yes, 169, it's from Rosmin to Rima Muran, and the R0126, I apologize, is from Rima Muran to Rosmin. Yes, so you see, Mr. Čorej, you come here, a number of years after a dispute that relates to my client in the Slovak Republic, and you bring in your personal issues with Rosmin. You make certain allegations that discredit my client. I put to you two documents, one signed by Rosmin to you, and the other in response, that both of them put together showed that you were cash positive at a period of time where you allege in your first witness statement that my client was in payment default, and moreover that was causing the insolvency of your company for a very ridiculous amount more. So what do you have to say to that? Apart from that, I don't remember.
I'll read in detail the letter I wrote. On 22nd May 2001, there was a general meeting held of Rosmin. At this general meeting, among other things, we've discussed the status of funding of work at Gemerská Poloma. advance payment was approved in the amount of 6 million crowns. See section 4 of the minutes of the general meeting. The amount has not been paid to date. 3.748 million Slovak crowns were paid out of that amount, as the last installment was paid on 12 July 2001 in the amount of 1.885 million. Under sections 14 and 15 of the contract for works, the contractor is authorized to suspend works in case the customer fails to pay a partial invoice. As of the work suspension date, it has been 62 calendar days. We suspended the works on the basis of that fact. As to submitted invoices for work actually carried out and payment of those invoices, we have to notify you that the provided amounts for high voltage line cannot be included in other invoices because a separate contract was concluded for that line. The invoices provided in a table cannot be correct because as of 1st July 2001, out of 6 million crowns was only 2.159, 500,000 was paid. The other matters will be handled by taking over the works for April, May, June and July. Surface construction July and underground works. We request that you provide us with funds for further continuation of works. So I did not make this up just now, that there was no funding available, clearly for us to be able to continue our work. Bills were not paid, invoices were not paid for material. And the worst situation occurred in the case at this general meeting, even though it was promised by the EuroGas executive officer or CEO that amount would be paid in the amount of 6 million total. It was never paid in full. And due to that, or as a result of that, we would gradually be fading out or phasing out our works until full suspension of our works. So I do insist on the fact that the owing amount of Rosmin, final amount towards Rima Muraň, is the 5.08 and change million crowns, which personally was approved, acknowledged by EuroGas representatives by signing a settlement agreement where this amount was acknowledged by them and later paid in shareholdings 40%, which we handed over to the company EuroGas as the counter value, 43% shareholding of Rima Muraň. I have nothing more to add to that.
Okay, but I just repeat my understanding of these documents is that you were cash positive because the only outstanding invoice at the time was an invoice for works not yet carried out, and moreover largely compensated for other amounts received for works not carried out, plus the advance payment you received. So I just don't understand how we could have caused your bankruptcy, because these, you were advanced cash positive, and moreover for works that you have not carried out.
I have to correct you very much. All works during that period with regard to surface construction has been completed and they were handed over. We are discussing now 2001. In 2001, in spring, the main ramp began to be drilled, meaning that all surface structures had to be completed by then. So claiming that we have not completed some of the surface structures is completely unacceptable. They were all completed as it was stipulated by the letter on processing costs per individual structures, above surface structures. So I cannot agree with you that we would not have completed some of our above surface structures. They were all completed as defined in the tender terms of reference defined by Rosmin themselves. One exception, perhaps, would be the fact that some structures, despite the fact that they were...
I'm not talking about a construction dispute. I'm just talking about your cash position and the impact. And I think we covered it. And the other question I have for you, sir, is that would you agree with me that there was a dispute also between the parties at the time about the quality of the work? Now, I have no intention, before you answer, to engage with you as to who is right or wrong. I don't want to get into a construction dispute. But do you agree that at the time there was a debate as to the quality of the work your company was providing? Yes or no?
No.
Trvám na tom.
I do insist that all works done by us were fully in line with the project documentation, and I can substantiate that with the fact that I have summoned the Rudny project, the design office who produced the design, and they have documented and conducted an authorship supervision over the site, and they have made a record of the inspection they have conducted, claiming that all the works have been completed in accordance with the design.
I'm not saying to you who's right or wrong. I'm not asking you this. I'm asking you whether or not, rightly or wrongly, Rosmin was claiming at the time that the quality of the works you were providing was not good, was bad. Was Rosmin claiming that the works you were doing were bad at the time?
With regard to the above surface structures, no. They only had one single reservation against the mining office. Apologies, interpreter, not office, the mining works.
May I deduct from your previous answer, since you commissioned the work to verify or not whether your works were good, that means there was an allegation by Rosmin that the works were not good. Can I conclude that and move on to my next question?
It cannot be understood as that, because also the organization, the company Rima Muran, having performed this work, did have their own authorized supervision with regard to the above surface structures. It was not necessary for mining work because the supervision was conducted by myself in person, and from the side of Rosmin for above surface structures, I'm not sure who conducted the supervision there, but for mining work they had a gentleman conducting supervision. I keep insisting that the only, from their side, declared problem was the decline of the mining works, and it's a very simple problem.
There were problems, and the question I have now...
There were no problems, because those problems did not pertain at all to Rosmin as a company.
That Rosmin was also claiming that your company was going over budget. And again, I don't want an answer, but there were additional works and a justification. Were there claims made by Rosmin at the time that your company was going over budget? Just a yes or no question.
Yes, but one thing needs to be explained. Substantial fact. I have to explain one substantial fact.
Not interested in, I don't want to defend the position of Rosmin. I'm just trying to find out whether or not there was a claim on their side. And maybe if you think that is relevant, counsel for respondent will allow you to elaborate. May I also, would you suggest that you agree with me that some of the shareholders of Rosmin had issues with you in your capacity as a shareholder?
Neviem, čo máte komu.
I don't know what exactly you have in mind.
Were you in dispute with Mr. Robal or other shareholders at the time in your capacity as a shareholder, not as a contractor? Forget about contractor.
We did have one problem, yes.
Then, may I also suggest that your exit from Rosman was a sour exit? That you perceived it at the time as being a very sour experience? Again, rightly or wrongly. It was not good, huh?
Odchod.
Leaving whom? Who from where? You mean my person or?
When I read your statement and when I see your presence here, I understand, maybe rightly so, that you were upset because you are claiming, moreover, that it caused you bankruptcy, you didn't sell in good conditions. And I'm just asking you whether that's a fair conclusion to draw from your testimony, that all this left a sour taste in your mouth.
Certainly. It was difficult for me to say goodbye to that project because I dedicated some 20 years of my professional life to that. So it's not simple to leave such project, and even under such circumstances.
I'm not challenging whether you were right or not. And if I move now to paragraph, I would say 50, 54 of your first witness statement, you say, according to my knowledge, and here you are talking about the year 2004, you say no further works were performed at the deposit until the moment when Siderit came to deposit in 2004. And you said, I personally notified representatives of Siderit to be aware of finances and to always ask an advance payment and not to perform any work unless they are first paid. I mean, why are you going out of your way in relation to a project that you left years ago? First, to follow up the project, and two, to write to our contractor to discredit us. I mean, here in this arbitration, I understand it's Slovak Republic that contacts you, but back then, why are you following up and why are you trying to discredit us?
One thing, the project Gemerská Poloma was, is, and shall remain my issue close to my heart. That's as a side comment. As per your question, with regard to Siderit, not myself have contacted Siderit, but it was the other way around. Siderit contacted me, asking me what kind of people are these with whom they are to go into some kind of business. I only told them the truth, what experience our company had with them, and nothing going out of my way. I told them.
If I understand you correctly, paragraph 54 was that I personally notified representatives of Siderit in response to their inquiry, correct? Because you say they contacted you to be aware of finances. You received a call basically from Siderit. So they contacted you,
Áno.
right?
Yes.
Okay, you didn't mention that in paragraph 54. You forgot, I guess. But you didn't find that necessary.
Keby sme chceli rozprávať o celej histórii,
If we would debate over the entire history of this problem, we would need much more time for that.
A very direct and simple question. They approached you to ask comments about the financial strength of Rosman. You didn't approach them, correct?
no určite nie ich.
Definitely not me, them. And I had major reasons for that.
Approached them. Who approached you and when the first time from Siderit?
just to make one thing clear.
Who approached you from Siderit and when? Can you give me a name and an approximate date?
It was Mr. Bolacek, who at that time performed the job of an economist of the company.
What month, do you remember?
Tak to bolo.
It was in 2004, for sure.
First half, second half of 2004?
To už ma nechytáte za slovo, pretože
Please do not catch me for my word, because I no longer recall that precise information.
During one of the 365 days of that year, right? That's how I should understand it. Did he contact you in writing, by phone, by email?
nie, stretli sme sa niekde.
No, we met somewhere, some social occasion. I don't know exactly how it was, but we just debated in person about this topic, and he told me that they were approached to join this venture, and he asked me, they wanted to know from me with whom, what, and under what conditions. Simply, they were asking about more details about the projects, knowing that I had much more details available, which they did not.
Okay, now that you know there was a social occasion, do you remember which social occasion and approximately when in that year? It's a meeting you had. You remember it to a point to put it in writing in a testimony.
Viete, to je tak, že ja som sa s nimi stretával.
I was meeting these people basically every other day. So please do not ask me to... even my neighbors, some of them. Director of Nižné Slané Oravec is my neighbor. Bolacek was another neighbor. Bernard was another neighbor, just like Mihok. So I would meet these people at regular basis, quite frequently. So we would discuss this topic on more occasions, but officially, mainly, I debated this with the gentleman I already mentioned.
And you don't recall at which social occasion. And I'll move on. If you don't remember, you don't remember.
I'm unable to answer what occasion it was, because there were many such occasions.
Okay, here you made a representation to Siderit about our financial capacities. I understand you warned them from paragraph 54, basically. Why did you write to the government to badmouth us at the time?
No je to... Pretože ma to požiadali.
Because I was asked to provide that information.
You were asked to provide what information? By whom and at what date? Please don't tell me it's a social occasion I don't remember.
Bol to pán inžinier Bolacek, ktorý...
It was Mr. Bolacek, who was the economic director of the company Siderit.
No, I apologize. I'm talking about something else now, sir. Let's forget about Siderit. Why did you write to the government of Slovakia in 2004 to badmouth, say bad things about Roseman in 2004?
Neviem, čo máte na mysli.
I don't know what you mean in 2004. What government?
The government of Slovakia, you wrote to them and you badmouthed us, you discredited us.
I don't know what you have in mind.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's a foundation that has to be laid here first, that such a letter was written, the date of the letter, and we can move on from there, but
Well,
we seem to have skipped a step.
That's right.
Sir, did you write or not in 2004 to any organ of the Slovak Republic to discredit Roseman in relation to the stock deposit?
Nepamätám sa.
I don't remember.
Myslím si, že skôr nie.
But I think more likely not.